Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so sorry that I allowed this date to slip me by. I'm actually in Toronto right now, while you are watching this video anyway, and doing some work on an executive committee that I participate on. So please forgive me, but I'm going to talk you through some information about institutional types and expectations. And I know you did some thinking about that in advance of class today. Anwi has kindly decided or kindly agreed to be here today. And she may pause this at any point and do some discussion with you or take some questions or anything like that. And she also designed this beautiful PowerPoint. So thank you, Anwi, and thank you everybody for being here. So how to get this slide to advance while I'm in this document. Okay, I think I've done it. Okay, so one of the first things that people always talk about when they're talking about the tenure track is the balance or lack of balance between teaching, research, and service. What does the balance look like? Does it look different for different institutional types? Spoiler alert, yes, it does. And I think you can see at least most of the comic off to the right that sort of pokes fun at the fact that the way you think you're going to spend your time, the way the department expects you to spend your time, what you actually have to do in order to get tenure, these things are all pretty different from each other. In the slide here, Anwi has crossed out the third option, which is to prioritize service over teaching and research. That will never get you tenure almost anywhere except perhaps at a community college where service is highly, highly prized and highly necessary to keep the institution running. I would argue, and there are many scholars, including our own Lenny Cassuto in English, who would argue that service is highly, highly essential at all of our institutions and extremely undervalued. Nevertheless, he hasn't been able to subvert the system yet and change institutions' priorities for valuing research usually, and then teaching, and then service most of the time in order to get tenure. Some institutions have very heavy teaching loads and still value research or place sort of weight research higher on the priorities for getting tenure, which is really difficult. We may be standing in one of those universities right now. Some have smaller teaching loads to help faculty members prioritize research. So you probably thought about some of these things as you were considering your institutional type that you'd be interested in. Okay, so this might be a place perhaps that Anwi would pause, but if not, that's perfectly fine. So there are places to look for more information on classifications of institutions and to look up institutions that you might be interested in. This graph here at the bottom of the page, and I think I can signal this and capture this on the recording platform here, shows that there's sort of a trajectory and not just distinct, a very only one way to divide up the priorities between teaching, research, and service. And you see here that different types of institutions fall more on the research-intensive side, more on the teaching-intensive side, and you can expect to do service at any type of institution to keep it running. Committee work, advising, work with individual students, running labs, doing independent studies, all sorts of things like that. And service at the university level, community service, service at the professional level, right? So all of those are not encapsulated here, but we're looking at research and teaching on this list right here. Okay, so among the different types of institutions and their classifications, we've got public and private colleges, we've got universities, community colleges, vocational, technical, and career colleges, and for-profit colleges and universities. The resources that we were looking at last time we met are mostly going to present options from those first three categories. There might be different places to look online if you're interested in seeing positions available at the last two categories. So I'm going to focus on the first three for right now. As you know, under public and private colleges, there are small liberal arts colleges. There are larger liberal arts colleges. There are religiously affiliated colleges like Fordham and many, many others, Jesuit and non-Jesuit alike. There are specialized mission colleges that might be, all about service or different types of priorities that are not religiously affiliated necessarily. And there are single-sex institutions, women's colleges, some men's colleges. Okay, and then within universities, which are characterized by, or which are defined by having multiple colleges within them, right? So like the College of Engineering and the College of Business, et cetera. Under universities, we have research universities, and we saw back on I can't go back. Never mind. Okay, so we saw back on the previous slide that there's, research 1, research 2, research 3. So different sort of levels of how prestigious the university is in the research area. And so there are research institutions and there are more teaching heavy institutions. So all of those factors might play into your decisions or your sort of hopes for what type of school you'll end up at. In addition to what we talked about last week, your geographic limitations, if you have any, any other like family limitations, any other types of things that you have that will help you narrow your search when you're looking at jobs. So here's an institutional type reflective activity. This relates to probably some of the thinking you did before class today. So I'm guessing this is a place where we might pause and discuss these questions. So I'm just going to blow through this. So you're probably going to pause here and have some conversation, and then you'll come back to the recording. Okay, so no matter the type of institution that you're going to be aiming for, you are going to need to put together materials to apply. And that's really what this course, the PFF course, is going to be preparing you to do. And through different sessions during different weeks and by bringing our resident experts in, we'll be learning more about the types of materials that are required for the applications and producing our own, workshopping them in class and outside of class as well, and just basically getting everything in draft shape so that when it's time for you, when you see an ad pop up for an institutional type that you're interested in, for a geographic location that you want, you're kind of ready to go. Of course, you'll have to tailor your materials, as we discussed last time, right? Of course, you'll have to tailor your materials to what they're asking for, to the university's mission, to all of the specialization, whether it's a generalist position like we talked about last time, or whether it is a specialist position, which areas of specialization you want to really emphasize, that kind of thing. Of course, you'll have to tailor your materials, which is an enormous job, but an exciting one too, right? Because there's a lot of discernment in the process, and you get to know a lot about the institution that you're applying to as well. And you start to feel within yourself, how invested am I in applying for this job? How much do I kind of want this? So it's a cool process. So one thing you need to start doing now, if you have not, is building your network. Many times mentors help us tremendously with this because they have an academic network, right? So connect with other graduate students, connect with all the faculty in your department, connect with faculty in other departments who work from their disciplinary perspective on the topic that you're interested in. Attend your professional conferences and talk to people. And even for us introverts, and a lot of us are who are going into academia, right? Make yourself go to that mixer, or make yourself talk to one-on-one to those people, or stay after the panel if you don't want to ask a question in front of everyone. Stay after and talk to that one person who, maybe you had a question about their work, or you're curious about a collaboration or something like that. It's essential to do that because for lots of reasons, but one of them is that for our purposes today, you might need letters of recommendation from folks who are recognized in the field. That would be ideal. And for your tenure, you absolutely will. You need to be known in your field in order to get letters from outside reviewers for your tenure file. And that's only, 6 years away once you start your job. And so build those networks, start building those networks now. This might be a good place also to pause and talk about the timeline down there. So I'll let Anwi do that. Also because I see that this platform limits me to 15 minutes of talking at once. So I'll let you all talk about that. Okay. So your portfolio that you're going to be putting together in this course will contain these items: your CV, your teaching philosophy, your research statement, and your diversity statement. You may also be developing or be adding to your portfolio items like teaching evaluations, a writing sample, which could be like a term paper for a course, right? Sample syllabi, and letters of recommendation, as I was just discussing. So those are the kinds of things that you can actually start amassing at this point. And, do them in print and scan them when it comes to like teaching evaluations and stuff like that. Some places, almost every place will have you applying online now, but sometimes it's useful to have things in hand. When you go on an interview, oh, I have this writing sample, you didn't ask me for it, but here, that kind of thing. So maybe I'm old-fashioned, but it could be useful. Okay. So in week 6, the next few slides are just going to preview a little bit. And again, you all can pause at any point and discuss this more, okay? But this is kind of like a preview for what we're going to be workshopping in certain weeks of the course moving forward, getting you thinking about it now, getting you maybe in your free time, if you're like waiting for the train or something and have some extra time, jot down some of the stuff that you're going to want to put in your teaching philosophy statement or that you're going to want on your CV or whatever. So the idea is to get the wheels turning now. So your teaching philosophy statement really contains your values and your beliefs about your teaching. Also, of course, you are going to tailor it a little bit so that you use some of the sort of buzzwords on your institution's website. That is the target institution, right? When you're looking to apply for a job. So all of these things you got to tweak and mirror their language back to them just a little bit, right? So in any event, it also provides evidence of your teaching effectiveness. It's usually, that's why it's usually backed up by things like teaching evaluations and sample syllabi and stuff. It discusses educational purpose and learning goals for your students, your teaching methods, your methods of assessment, and evidence of assessment. And so, you might include things like quotes from students from your SEEK evaluations. Students say this about this course, that kind of thing. It might include the courses that you've taught. There, number 3 is the testimonials and things. So this is a good place to pause and discuss if you all feel like doing so. Maybe ask and answer some questions. Okay. In week 12, we'll be workshopping the research statement. So this is going to be a lot of sort of a peek into your brain. How did you get interested in this? What was the motivation? And you really want it to be captivating. Tell a story about why you're here, why you're working on this, right? Maybe a story about your challenges and how you overcame them. Especially, why is research important within your field or beyond your field? Why is your work interdisciplinary, and how does this help solve a problem in our world today, etc.? And definitely next steps. Always indicate, and same with the teaching philosophy, indicate what's next, what ideas you have for the next thing. What's the next thing going to be? Always show you've got new things coming up. Pause, probably, and discuss. Okay. The diversity statement, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of time on my recording, but I'll try. Okay, so the diversity statement is actually not something that I've had to write before. You all have probably seen some of these, and I have seen them in applications for sure. They're not always required, but it's essential to have in your repertoire of things. So, what does diversity mean to you? Make sure on this one that you do reading on the target institution's website. What's important to them? What initiatives do they have right now on DEI, right? Mirror that back a little bit. Address those things. If you've gone beyond what they've been starting to discuss at their institution, show them that. Tell them that, right? So I'll let you all look at the rest of these questions and discuss. Okay, and lastly, I think we made it. Lastly, a reflection exercise. So this is kind of tying it all together about, your type of institution, the type of job you would like to have, the type of professor you want to be, what makes you unique. So have fun with that. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks. Thank you so, so much. And thanks, Ennui.